And good afternoon to our witnesses. À l'ordre, bonjour.
Order, and welcome to the 27th meeting of the Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
The territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation, and of course, it is National Indigenous Peoples Day, and I want to recognize the contributions of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Alors aujourd'hui, comme vous le savez,
as you know, today is the National Day for Indigenous People, and I would like to recognize all the contributions of our First Nations and the Métis Nation and the Inuit people in our country. Today we will continue our fourth study on sovereignty, security, and emergency preparedness of Indigenous people.
Having the pleasure of hearing from the Honourable Richard Mostyn, Minister of Community Services of the Government of Yukon, Dr. Ken Coates, who's a professor and Canada Research Chair in Regional Innovation at the Johnson Shoyama Graduate School of Public Policy of the University of Saskatchewan, from Marcia Murasti, Senior Director, Health for Meadow Lake Tribal Council, and finally, from Vice Chief Joseph Tsani, Athabasca Dene Souline, Prince Albert Grand Council. Alors,
I wish to remind you about the Board of Internal Economy's requirements concerning physical distancing and mask wearing.
Meeting, I would like to outline a few rules to follow. Members or witnesses may speak in the official language of their choice. Interpretation services in English, French, and Inuktitut are available for today's meeting. Please be patient with the interpretation. There may be a delay, especially since the Inuktitut has to be translated into English first before it can be translated into French and vice versa. The interpretation button is found at the bottom of your screen in either English, French, or Inuktitut. If interpretation is lost, let us know and we'll stop the proceedings until we can fix it. And the raise hand feature at the bottom of the screen can be used at any time if you wish to speak or alert the chair. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name, and if you are on the video conference, please click on the microphone icon to unmute yourself. And those in the room, your microphone will be controlled as normal by the proceedings and verification officer. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. When you are not speaking, your microphone should be on mute. Finally, a reminder that all comments should be addressed through the chair. With that, we'll begin our panel today. I will be going from one witness to another with a 5-minute initial opening remarks presentation. And after that, we'll go to a question period. So without further ado, I'd like to invite the Honourable Richard Mostyn, Minister of Community Services of the Government of Yukon, to make his opening remarks. Minister, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm Richard Mostyn, the Minister of Community Services for the Yukon, and I'm joining you today from the traditional territories of the Kwanlintun First Nation and the Tonquachin Council. Mr. Chair, it's good to be working with you again, and members of the committee, thank you for inviting me to speak on behalf of the Yukon today. It's important to recognize the ongoing engagement between the territorial, federal, and First Nation governments in the security domain. It reflects the importance of safety and security for our communities in the broadest sense. Arctic security and sovereignty should be at its core about the people of the North, with a strong lens on Yukon First Nations. We must do everything we can to create healthy, vibrant, thriving, and safe communities across the territory. This must include coordinated investments in climate-resilient infrastructure capable of delivering sustainable local services. Let me provide a smattering of context for those of you who don't know the Yukon. It's important. The Yukon is growing fast. Why? Well, it's a diverse and inclusive region with robust internet and transportation connectivity to every community. It has a strong economy and a stunning environment. So yeah, there's a lot going on. All that said, it's mind-bogglingly small. Our jurisdiction is roughly the size of Campbell River, BC, spread over a region half the size of BC, or if you prefer, 4/5 the size of France. I'll let that sink in for a minute. We have 11 self-governing First Nation governments, not reserves, real governments with rights recognized and protected by the Canadian Constitution. Strategically, we are critically important to Canada. Heck, we're critically important to North America. We have been since the Second World War. We provide the only road access to Alaska's commercial and military interests. Alaskan legislatures driving to Juneau have to pass through the Yukon. We also have the only road crossing to the Arctic Circle. We also have the only road crossing the Arctic Circle to Canada's north coast, the Dempster Highway. Yukon has the most western international airport in Canada, and throughout its colonial history, and probably long before, has been a transport and trade nexus. So when you talk about sovereignty and security in the Yukon, some have recently suggested military bases, but that's not the play. We are in the defense shadow of Alaska and unlikely to ever come close to matching the hard military power amassed in that state. But we are the most important supply channel to that state and its military, and also to the near eastern Arctic. My point is that for sovereignty and security, we must invest in power, both tangible, green energy, and diplomatic influence. And we do that, as the territory always has, through robust investment in transportation, trade, and energy infrastructure. We must continue to invest in highways, bridges, airports, and telecommunications. In the very near future, we need to connect it to the North American power grid. And I'd argue in the long term, in anticipation of an ice-free Northwest Passage, we need port facilities on Canada's north coast as close to Alaska as possible, and possibly a rail network linking it to Alberta. These represent short, medium, and 30-year plus goals to exert sovereignty and security in the north and to mitigate emergencies and to deal with them once they occur. This won't be easy or cheap, and it won't be possible without the support of our First Nation and federal partners, which is why Yukon's co-governance model is so important to the nation. To be successful, all Yukon people have to see themselves thriving in a secure environment free from energy, climate, housing, and food insecurity. In turn, that strengthens the nation's interests. Yukon's vision of Arctic sovereignty and security is very much an intersection of meeting the hard defense needs and building resilient communities. My department leads the Yukon Protective Services programs that include wildland fire, emergency medical services, and Yukon Territorial Fire Response and Emergency Measures programs. I'll end my opening remarks with this. One of the biggest threats we face to our sovereignty and security in the North is climate change, which we were recently talking about just actually in the opening before everybody arrived at the committee this afternoon. Climate change is being experienced in the North at an accelerated rate to the rest of Canada. So there's an awful lot to discuss this afternoon, and I'm happy to take questions later after I've heard my colleagues. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Minister Mostyn. It's good to see you again. For everybody's information, Minister Mostyn and I were transport ministers at the same time, so we're old friends. We'll now go to Professor Ken Coates. Professor Coates, you have 5 minutes.
My manager just.
No, I was just thanking you for letting me speak to you, and then I decided I should not turn my microphone on. My comments are going to build very much on what the minister just had to say. This is not a new topic for Canada. And in fact, one of the things I'm going to say at the end, just to sort of give away my story, is that I'm almost certain we're going to be back having the same conversation 30 years from now. We've been talking about what Canada should do about sovereignty in the North, about respecting Indigenous peoples, about mobilizing the country to address the very severe problems in the Canadian North for a very long time. And we haven't really done very well as a nation. I think we need to be clear about that. I should also say really quickly that I'm delighted that my colleagues from Saskatchewan are here. I'm from the Yukon, a huge fan of the territorial North. If you look at it from terms of personal incomes and GDP and health and well-being, the poorest parts of Canada are almost all in the provincial North. There's huge problems in northern Manitoba, northern Saskatchewan, across northern Ontario, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really important we take an inclusive view of the North and build on some of the phenomenal things that have happened in Yukon, Northwest Sturgeon, and Nunavut, and bring that learning down further south into the other areas. So like I say, we've been at this for sort of a very long time. Canada's approach to Arctic sovereignty for a very, very long time was actually just to do what I call the showing the flag routine, basically letting the world know that we had our Northwest Mounted Police officers up there. We actually backed away from our responsibility during the Second World War, and we basically let the Americans do what the Americans wanted to do in terms of building the Alaska Highway and the Canal pipeline. And afterwards, we moved very slowly to sort of to assume responsibility sort of as a country. So we're left with a situation where we do not have a very strong military presence in the north. Our infrastructure in northern Canada is not up to national standards, nor is it up to circumpolar standards. We're not doing as well. I just got back from Greenland, and we're not doing as well as Greenland, which is an area that has far more formidable challenges than many parts of the Canadian North. So I think the issue for me is what do we do about this? The issues are getting greater. The minister mentioned climate change. Russia's belligerence in Ukraine has raised the question of our challenges to our sovereignty and our comparative inability to really respond to that particularly well. So let me just give you sort of a series of my 5 greatest hits on things where I think we can do better and where we should put our emphasis. Number one, defending Arctic sovereignty and improving the lives of Indigenous people is very expensive. I know this is not last thing that members of the House want to hear, but get ready to spend way, way, way more money than you're spending now. That's what's happened in Greenland, is what happened in Faroe Islands, what's happened in northern Norway. Canada is trying to get by on the cheap in terms of the developments and investments in the north, and it's going to be a lot of money over a longer period of time. Second point, the new north, in Canada's new north, will be created not with Indigenous people, but in the spirit of what the minister said, actually very much by the First Nations, by the Métis, and by the Inuit population. It is their self-government and their autonomy that is driving the best improvements in the north, and that will continue well into the future. I am a fan of modernizing. I wouldn't say modernizing our armed forces. The Department of National Defense just announced a major addition, but we do need to northernize our armed forces. We do not have an armed forces that's really well prepared to work in the north at all. Fourth, we do not have enough of a commitment to environmental well-being and sustainability. We've let our scientists down. We're doing a sort of the bare minimum in terms of monitoring environmental change, and we're only getting started on remediation. And remediation is going to be the theme of environmental responsibility in the years to come. And the fifth one, we always talk in Canada about innovation and how we can become an innovative nation and responding to the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. We do not have a northern innovation strategy. The Yukon actually is doing quite well in terms of localized innovation and entrepreneurship. But as a country, we are not investing heavily in everything from 3D printed homes, looking at localized food production, alternative energy systems. We should be a world leader in the development of science and technology to address the realities of northern life, and it pains me to sort of say we're not there. So we have a lot to do. We need more money, recognize Indigenous authority, expand our military presence, world-leading environmental monitoring or remediation, and a comprehensive innovation strategy. I'm going to end the way I started. We got a really difficult task in front of us. My work as an historian tells me we're going to be back here 30 years from now having exactly the same conversation and wondering why we didn't do enough in the year 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Coates. I hope we will make progress over the next 30 years. We'll now go to Ms. Morasti. Ms. Morasti, you have 5 minutes.
Well, Tanse and happy Indigenous Peoples Day. My name is Marcia Morasti. I'm the Senior Health Director for the Meadow Lake Tribal Council, which represents 16,000 band members in northwestern Saskatchewan. And I'm going to be a witness and share about our COVID response. And I'm going to give my presentation through a SWOT analysis. Our Meadow Lake Tribal Council COVID response provided the following strengths. There was a creation of strong networks and supports. We were able to pivot and engage in new ways. We partnered with organizations like the Saskatchewan Health Authority, the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan, and the Northern Intertribal Health Authority for virtual and jointly weekly conference calls that were well supported by chiefs and community leaders, senior management, and officials from Indigenous Services Canada, representatives from the provincial government, the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency, the RCMP, and medical health officers. Our First Nation leaders played a key and important role in these meetings. They were very involved. The federal government provided timely response and worked with MLTC, and ISC Indigenous Services Canada was responsive to funding requests, and our COVID immunization was provided both to on-reserve and to neighboring communities. The engagement and support of First Nation and Métis leadership was critical to success. There was a joint funding application that created the Northwest Incident Command Center. The strength, adaptability, and resilience of people within communities was key to addressing challenges, and the prior pandemic planning helped to set the stage for a response. The COVID-19 pandemic also highlighted some weaknesses. And first and foremost, that there must be a continued and direct relationship between First Nations and the federal government. First Nations signed treaties with the federal government. And when the provincial government comes in and acts as a middleman, it causes confusion for our people. Some other weaknesses was that the lockdown in Northwest Saskatchewan highlighted the need for security and increased RCMP presence. The highway shutdown by Alacross also created hardship and highlighted food insecurity. There was a lack of flexibility, and there was a prescriptive nature from the provincial government that reduced the effectiveness of the vaccine rollout. The provincial mandate of age-related rollout strategy was not a good fit for our First Nations people. There were pressures on the healthcare system, both in the SHA, the Saskatchewan Health Authority, and MLTC and our Meadow Lake First Nations, in terms of health human resources. We experienced resignations, job changes, shortage of nursing, and burnout. It has been challenging to find permanent full-time staff, as many opt to work part-time. It's highlighted the need for an increase in training programs in the health field, such as home health aides, community care assistants, licensed practical nurses, registered nurses, and nurse practitioners. The organizational changes that occurred prior to COVID and wildfire evacuations made it hard to know who were the proper contacts in the provincial government. The isolation requirements with regards to COVID highlighted the need for more housing and the overcrowding that occurs in our communities. The pandemic also exposed and highlighted the lack of connectivity and the lack of infrastructure and resources present in our communities. In terms of the opportunities that COVID provided, there is the opportunity for increased respect for First Nations autonomy on decision-making and recognition of Indigenous authority, such as the vaccine rollout, which would allow anyone who wants the vaccine over the age of 18 to receive it on a first-come, first-serve basis and to keep the momentum going and a sense of urgency. Our First Nation leaders knew where the vaccine needed to go for best effect. We also can strengthen our partnerships and build on success with key stakeholders and decision makers. The pandemic highlighted the recognition of how important family and community was to our people. We can improve on communication and community engagement in order to respond to emergent threats, which can be quick if we engage all partners. We can also engage with First Nations to determine goals and priorities and engage First Nations in the importance of ensuring their readiness for future emergencies. Intergovernmental collaboration needs improvement when it comes to First Nations. The pandemic also highlighted pressures, dangers, or threats, and I'm going to go over some of the threats. The CERB funding affected our people. The working from home strategy worked for some of our staff and not for others, as our work was reliant on emails and phone, where some of our communities did not have connectivity or cell service. The technical difficulties impeded meetings and communication. Our ability to safeguard our children by allowing homeschooling was impacted as First Nations have not been afforded the infrastructure, such as cellular service and high-speed internet, in particular 2 of our First Nations. The lack of connectivity also affected mental health, addictions, and interpersonal violence. For many staff who were working every day, there was staff burnout and heavy workloads. There was a highlight of the increase in gangs, violence, hopelessness, and suicide ideation and completion after 2 years of prolonged stress. The mental wellness response and recovery needs attention moving forward. The lack of facilities that address needs in a timely manner, such as detox centers and treatment centers, also needs to be addressed. We need mental wellness and healing and recovery centers to address our addictions and mental health. I want to thank you for listening, and I'm open to any questions you may have. I'll do my best to respond in a timely manner, and I want to thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Morasti. We'll now go to Mr. Tsani. Mr. Tsani, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the committee there and my colleagues that are on the line. My name is Joseph Tsani. I'm the Athabasca Vice Chief of the Prince Albert Grand Council. I'm here. Happy Aboriginal Day to everybody. I'm here in the Minister's area. I'm in Whitehorse. We have Team Hatchet Lake entering the Yukon River Quest here today, entering tomorrow. They'll hopefully take the championship back to Northern Saskatchewan, and we'll be cheering them on. Came in second in 2019. High water levels continue to be a challenge here, but good spirits, and we got some young folks ready for the competition. So I'm here in Yukon at the government building, taking this Zoom call. So I'm from the Hatchet Lake Dennis McLean First Nation, Treaty 10 territory. I'm currently the Vice Chief with the Prince Albert Grand Council. We have 12 member First Nations, 45,000 plus First Nation members. Some services include health, education, housing and tech services, information technology, justice, policing, forestry, and emergency services. Our northern communities, northern Saskatchewan, we have Hatchet Lake Dennis McLean First Nation, the town of Wollaston, Black Lake, hamlet of Stony Rapids, Fond du Lac Dennis McLean First Nation, Uranium City, the town of Campbell Portage. We have access gravel roads to our northern communities all the way up to Stony Rapids, and ice roads into Wollaston Lake and Fond du Lac that gives us the access to some of the southern communities. We own and operate airline services in northern Saskatchewan called Rise Air. It's owned by our 12 First Nations within the Prince Albert Grand Council. Some of the areas that I want to focus on today is the need of search and rescue base in northern Saskatchewan. Our Dene people have been on the land for thousands of years. We are the experts and can respond to any emergency situations in harsh weather conditions in the far north regions. We continue to live off the land, and our elders continue to pass on the traditional survival skills to our young people. Our biggest resources is our young people. 70% of our total population is under the age of 25. Our young people are graduating and are desperately seeking opportunities, which are limited in northern Saskatchewan and also in most northern parts of Canada. Some of the communities that are isolated communities. Our northern community has hosted several Wounded Warrior events with the Canadian military, and we are proud to treat them to our beautiful lakes and land in northern Saskatchewan. We currently have the Canadian Rangers in 3 of our First Nations, Lac La Ronge Indian Band, Hatchet Lake Dennis McLean First Nation, Fond du Lac, and we are currently working on adding 2 more to our communities within the Prince Albert Grand Council. Our communities that have the Canadian Rangers are very proud to share the knowledge and the outdoor survival skills with our partners. Some of the capabilities of the Prince Albert Grand Council include in search and rescue recovery teams, is currently is a community-based volunteer organization providing land, water, search and rescue services. We are dedicated to provide the highest quality of search and rescue service. Our commitment is to provide all Saskatchewan First Nations with qualified emergency management services. We have agreements with Red Cross, good working relationship with Red Cross. Saskatchewan First Nation Emergency Management looks after the flooding, forest fire spills, and other threats to our communities, and we also provide the training. The Saskatchewan First Nations Fire Protective Services Technical Assistance is a technical assistance for Sask First Nation wildfire protection. Northern Saskatchewan, some of the areas that we've been advocating and hoping to expand is to continue to build partnerships and relationships with the Canadian military, ongoing meetings to identify challenges and threats to the north, the potential for search and rescue recovery, training, and remote response base in Northern Saskatchewan. I think that's the main area that I've been advocating and been making some connections, is that search and rescue base in Northern Saskatchewan. We have the airlines that we run. We wanted to do some aerial surveillance in the Arctic. It is central location, Northern Saskatchewan, a perfect location to have a northern search and rescue base. Ground and water response capabilities with our traditional, with the elders and our navigation skills. I think we're in the perfect situation to provide those services. Opportunity for our young people to serve our country, an opportunity to provide meaningful and rewarding careers for our young people. Like I said earlier, we have a high young graduates that are graduating in our communities, our biggest resources. And in closing, on behalf of the Prince Albert Grand Council, I want to take the opportunity to thank everybody for getting me to present today, and to continue to advocate to build a healthy and safe communities for all our members and for all our members. And again, our biggest resources is our young people. We had an airplane crash in Northern Saskatchewan number of years ago, and lucky was just outside of one of our communities. And it was our people, the local rangers, that responded to that need. Just imagine with all the threats that are happening around the world right now, how well are we prepared? And who else best is going to respond to any needs, services that are needed? We are capable in Northern Saskatchewan, our people are capable in responding in -40 weather, in harsh weather conditions, to navigate through those conditions and provide that the search and rescue capabilities. We have the airlines, the people, the young people, the biggest resources to provide a lot of services. So we continue to advocate, and we are currently advocating and working with the Canadian Rangers, but we want a Northern Saskatchewan search and rescue base. We got people go missing on a weekly basis, and our people are always out there, but we need the support from Canada to provide that service. We can provide that service up into the Northwest Passage, up into the Arctic, Nunavut, Northwest Territories, etc. So we are here. We're willing partners, and we want that opportunity for our communities in Northern Saskatchewan. So with that, thank you very much. I'm here for any questions and willing to make those connections to make this a reality. Thank you to everybody that presented. Good points.
Thank you, Vice Chief Tsani. We'll now go to a question period. And just for everybody's information, by the way, sorry we started a bit late to the witnesses. I know we kept you waiting. But we'll go through now with questions up to 6 o'clock, which is our deadline. And we'll start the first round. And Mr. Vidal, you have the microphone for the next 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to start today by acknowledging that we are meeting today on National Indigenous Peoples Day here in Canada, and I'm thrilled from a personal perspective to have representatives from the two largest tribal councils in my riding. I have Ms. Morasti and Vice Chief Tisani here representing 21 out of 25 First Nations in my riding. And that's I don't think it was planned that way, but it worked out very good to have them here today, and I'm really excited about that. So I want to welcome both of you. Ms. Morasti, I'm going to start with you, and then I'll get some time in with Vice Chief Tisani as well. But boy, you gave us about 75 different things that we could talk about relative to the pandemic response, and there's so much there. I want to focus a little bit, just first of all, on emergency planning. You briefly mentioned emergency planning, and I know the 9 First Nations that you represent, some are more remote than others. Could you just share a little bit about the emergency plans and what benefit they were, EMO coordination, and some of that? I know you talked about the Northwest Incident Command Center, which arose in the midst of the pandemic, but maybe what has been learned about the importance of the emergency plans, not just being a plan on a shelf that grows dust, but something that's a vibrant document that is ready to go next time we face an emergency, in your case in Northwest Saskatchewan?
Good afternoon. Thank you for that question. What we've learned is that the emergency response plans need to be revised and updated on a continual basis as living documents, and we have to update the changes that occur in our contacts in the provincial system, in our federal contacts, and at the community level, as there is a number of turnover in staff and changes and the need for communication and to work together. With the wildfire that occurred last year with the Buffalo River Dene Nation, there was some blips and some learnings that we experienced in that. It was challenging in that there was the added concern of COVID as the evacuees were taken out of community into Lloydminster. There was a COVID outbreak, and it was hard to manage that outbreak when the provincial guidelines became more relaxed, and we needed to work closely and stronger together with the Saskatchewan health authorities and the SPSA and different representatives. So we're learning and we're sharing information. We also have contractors and services and relationship with the Canadian Red Cross, and looking at as best as we can, because there is funding attached to emergency situations where we would like to explore the opportunities for services closer to home, for rescue type situations and training. So it's about it's an evolving process, and sharing with our fellow partners, Prince Albert Grand Council and NITHA, and keeping abreast of the situations such as the fire and flooding situations, getting updates and keeping all our networks informed, and just doing the best that we can to handle those emergent situations. So I hope I answered your question. I'm not sure if I did.
No, thank you for that. And I know you're in the midst of every day, and I appreciate the work you do. I'm going to switch over to Vice Chief Tisani for one quick question, and then I'll hopefully get back to you both a bit later. But Vice Chief, just last week you faced an evacuation at Stanley Mission due to a forest fire in your territory, and I think we're very thankful that I don't believe anybody was hurt, and that the rain came and helped deal with that maybe quicker than it has in the past. But one of the things that you and I have had conversations about in the past is the actual access to your home community of Hatchet Lake and the Wollaston Lake Road. and how that potentially is an impediment to emergency planning, especially in the forest fire situation. You had a fire there a few years ago. Could you just speak to the importance of road access as it leads to emergency planning for your home nation?
Thank Gary. Good to see you there. With climate change, our ice road season is getting shorter and shorter. And like I said, we're earlier before this meeting, we're still missing 2 people that are presumed drowned just trying to get across to the lake. 3 people had drowned just back in November. And there was a teacher that went through the ice. The vehicle landed on a floating ice just under the water. So there's been lots of tragedies, people being lost, just trying to get into the community. With climate change, it's getting harder and harder. We've been advocating to get that road built. And back in, I think, 2012, a couple of years ago, we had the perfect storm. We had the fire surrounding the community. Our airport wasn't operating. You can't land planes because the fire was just close by the community. We ended up getting some helicopters to move people out of the community and into Points North. And we had a Hercules that landed in Points North, and we had to evacuate that way. So it's very important to have that access. We had some commitment there to get that road built and finished, but very little support. We're halfway done, but we need that ongoing support to get that road finished. We're not asking for much, and we're just in the backyards of the biggest uranium deposits in northern Saskatchewan. There's no reason why we continue to not have that road built. Last 30, 40 years, we've been advocating to get that road built. Why is it so hard? We're halfway there. The equipment is there. Why can we continue to work on it this summer? And that's what we've been saying to the ministers. And we still haven't heard. Last week, they were supposed to meet with Minister Fox. We haven't heard back. Maybe, but there's millions of dollars coming out of our backyards, and we can't get this road finished. So that's where we're at, and we're always on top. The Grand Council, I was there with our first Red Cross and our emergency SAS First Nation emergency management. We're on top of it, and we continue to provide that support for our communities. And we've done it so many times, I feel like we're the experts in dealing with emergency management. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go to Ms. Atwin for 6 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to wish everybody a National Indigenous Peoples Day, a happy National Indigenous Peoples Day, and to anyone celebrating across Turtle Island, and of course, right here in unceded Willistoq territory. As my stepfather, Spazakazet Pasazam, Grand Chief, would say, it's a good day to be Indigenous, and it's a good day for us allies to be reminded that we are all treaty people. And of course, I'd just like to also mention to my fellow committee members, it's an honor to serve with you all on this important committee. And thank you so much to our witnesses for joining us today. I think what I'll do for my short time, I'm going to start with Minister Mostyn, and you focused in on an issue that's very close to my heart, which is climate change. So I'd like to talk about, the need for climate resilient infrastructure. And I'm just wondering if you could give us a little bit of insight into some of the conversations and planning that's happening around this, and more importantly, I think how Indigenous knowledge is informing that process. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question this afternoon. It's a good one and very, very important. I mean, we're seeing the effects of climate change firsthand here in the north. Even this summer, this spring, we saw the Clay Cliffs in Whitehorse collapse, knocking out one of the 2 access roads to downtown Whitehorse. In Ross River, we are seeing a school underpinned by permafrost compromised in that small community there, which I was dealing with as highways minister for many years. We have the road to Alaska itself as permafrost issues, and it's very, very expensive to maintain for the territory, certainly to the standards that Alaska demands. We have about 250, 300 people living in that North Highway. It's about $30 million a year to maintain. We just don't have that type of resources to do it. So we have to start looking at how we maintain our infrastructure in a way that, every dollar we spent on good infrastructure up front saves us $11 down the road in remediation and everything else. That's what I was told just the other day. So it's very, very important to fiscally, even just responsibly, to look at these issues and deal with them before, head them off, and start building our infrastructure in a way that anticipates and deals with climate change. So in Old Crow, we're building a new health center in Old Crow. We're using climate change adaptive technologies to try to make sure that it's there. We're working with the First Nation in Old Crow to do that. The First Nation in Old Crow, which owns, the Buntakwitchin, own almost a controlling share in Air North, which is the Yukon's Northern Airlines. So it's a very sophisticated First Nation. It has just built the largest solar panel array north of 60, and it is turning off its diesel power to sort of bring down its own carbon footprint as a community. So we helped with that, as did Ottawa. So we're looking at technology to make sure that we're cutting our greenhouse gases. The other thing that's just happening, the Yukon government is going to be investing in a hydro development in Atlan, BC, which again will cut our dependence on fossil fuels. We're working with the First Nation in the region to actually do this. And of course, we've been dealing with First Nations through our Yukon Forum, meeting with all of our First Nation leaders every 3 months, and developing a rapport and a co-management in the territory that has not happened before. I mean, we've held every 3 months since we were elected, we held these Yukon forums with all the Indigenous leaders in the territory to discuss areas of mutual concern. Climate change, of course, comes up, murdered and missing Aboriginal women and girls. The last one, which we held in Old Crow just the other day, dealt with the salmon, the lack of salmon returning to their spawning beds. And these are heartrending discussions we're having with our Indigenous leaders throughout the Yukon. But working together, I don't think you can manage the territory without that input into be it climate change and the salmon or any of these issues. It's absolutely integral that we work together as a unit. And I really think the model works. And I can't imagine doing this job if I wasn't in regular contact with our First Nation leaders and our municipal leaders as well. So that's vital. We're also rewriting our Civil Emergency Measures Act, which was last drafted. I think it's a year older than I am, so it's very, very old. And so we are going to rewrite that, and we're doing it with the First Nations and municipal leaders who aren't even mentioned in that piece of legislation, by the way. And yet, right now, for example, in Teslin, last point, where we're fighting near historic levels of flooding in that community, it's the First Nation and the municipal government working together that is putting together an absolutely remarkable flood defense in that community. And they're doing it with our support, of course, but we don't have to do a lot in that community because the First Nation and the municipality are working so well together, getting those sandbags deployed. And that's the sort of work together we've got to do more of in this country. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I know my time is very limited, so I'll ask really quickly to Vice Chief Sani. You mentioned something else that's close to my heart, and that's youth engagement. It is the most important resource. How can we best engage this fastest growing demographic as far as emergency preparedness and kind of stepping up to what's needed in the North?
So our young people are, like I said, more than mining, more than any other resources our young people is our biggest resources. Our job as leadership people that are in the decision-making tables, it is our job to open those doors for our young people and give them those opportunities. What a great opportunity to have this Northern Saskatchewan search and rescue base and get these people out on the land. We have a high rate of suicides in all of our First Nations communities, and our young people are needing those opportunities. And we got to open those doors. And our people are the best. They are out there, minus 40, minus 50 weather. I used to sleep outside with my dad going hunting in the Arctic in Northern Canada. And that's what we teach our children. How best do we respond to threats? If we need to navigate, we listen to the trappers, the people that are out on the land, and our young people. They're graduating high school with very little opportunities in Northern Canada. And with the Canadian Rangers, there's some of it there, and they really enjoy that. Being out of the land and sharing their knowledge, it's the survival skills. If we ever get any threats coming from our northern part, our people are the number one people to respond. They're going to be the ones that are going to be called upon for food and for services that are needed, and certain capabilities I'm pretty sure you can't. Because I experienced it. I had family that go that go into the north and they have accidents. I go out there and to respond to some of these emergency services, and I call 911 out from out in the boonies up in the Arctic. They said, Vice Chief, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to help you. I said, these people are going to be dying if we don't respond. There's 3 days people get stuck in the Athabasca sand dunes without any emergency response. Planes can't land. So what do? Nothing. People get into snowmobile accidents when they're hunting or somebody gets hurt and you can't respond to them. 3-4 days, that's not acceptable. We have those capabilities and somebody has to make that call and say, yeah, get our people out there. And I think it's the RCMP that, at the end of the day, that has to make that call. But we have that capability. If we have that support, we can provide that support in northern Canada. And our young people are just so eager to get out there and to show what they can potentially do. And thank you for that question. I think it's very important.
Thank you. On va aller maintenant, Madame.
And now we're going to turn to Ms. Gill. Thank you very much, Chair. I would like to thank all of our witnesses. I'd like to ask a first question to Mr. Coates. You mentioned a number of things, and despite the critical or maybe cynical tone, but I understand the situation, you mentioned potential solutions other than funding, and the Army, and of course food security and the issue of infrastructures and so forth. But you mentioned a word that I haven't heard spoken at this committee, so I would like to hear that word again, strategy. When you want to resolve a complex problem, we have to put together the tools to attain our objective. Now, at present, well, you are still a historian. Do you know of strategies with regard to Arctic sovereignty, and what do you think of the possibility of a strategy, and what would that strategy resemble? I know that's a big question. I'll give you the floor, Mr. Coates.
Well, it's a very big and very, very important question. I guess I did come across as a bit cynical. Just as an historian, I've seen us go down this path many times before. We've had a whole series of Arctic strategies over the years where governments of different stripes have come forward and said, here's our plan. And then you come down 10 years later, and what happens is that the North moves forward, but it moves forward at a slower pace than the rest of the country. So that, in fact, the gap between northern Canada and southern Canada gets bigger rather than smaller. And so you are making some progress in terms of improving opportunities for northern peoples. But as we've heard Marcia and the Vice Chief say, we're actually working out terribly well. So can you do a strategy? Short answer is yes. And where would you do this? Well, I just got back from taking a group of students from northern Canada across northern Norway, where they've had a whole series of strategies that actually link up their military activity, their resource activity, their approach to Sami studies and Sami affairs with Indigenous peoples of northern Norway, and community development overall. And this is going to make the Vice Chief feel very, very sad. But I went through one tunnel today on the Faroe Islands that cost more than all the amount of money being put into the roads in northern Saskatchewan, probably in the last decade. And that's only one of many tunnels in the Faroe Islands, and northern Norway has dozens of these things. So, what happens in northern Norway is they put these pieces together, and I think you're asking the right question. It isn't just the military, it isn't just infrastructure. If you look at other countries, from northern Australia to Greenland, the military investment is done with a view to the infrastructure needs of society as a whole. So you build the road perhaps in a slightly different place. You use the military to put in to develop some sort of energy system that then is applied to the non-military population. You link up the innovation strategies and the scientific work with the absolute needs of the community. And I really like the question asking about Indigenous knowledge, because the other part of this is that we're doing a lot of these things and then basically ask the Indigenous people after the plans have been formulated. And if we learned anything, and the Yukon is the best example of this, certainly for the last decade or so, if you look at if we learned anything, it is First Nations people, Métis people, Inuit people at the table from the beginning, setting the priorities and making the decisions alongside the public governments and the non-Indigenous population, you can leapfrog ahead under those circumstances. But that's strategic planning. That's actually looking and saying, what resources do we have? What challenges do we have? And what are the priorities? What do we do first, second, and third? Now what we do is we basically, sometimes the territorial government goes in one direction, the provincial government, you've heard the challenge in Saskatchewan, doesn't pay a lot of attention to the provincial north, unfortunately. Not as much as they should, and governments go in different directions, and different departments within governments go in different directions. So I really like I say, I've just been traveling in the circumpolar world for the last month, and I'll tell you, if you spend even a couple of weeks up there, you'll feel very, very badly about how we're doing in Canada in the provincial and territorial north, because we haven't had an effective strategy. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coates. And Mr. Chair, I do have another question for Mr. Coates regarding the circumpolar north, and you talked at the beginning about this, and now again, we know that the countries in the Arctic Circle do not have the same size nor the same size populations or even possibilities. How would you assess Canada when you talk about the norms? How would you compare Canada with the other circumpolar countries?
You're right to say, thank you for the question. You're right to say that they're very different. Canada has phenomenal unrealized potential, but also has very formidable challenges. If we had colleagues with us right at the table from Nunavut, the dispersed population, the vast distances, the extreme cold, very, very different than what you see in northern Norway, for example. So if you go across the circumpolar world, you discover a couple of things. Russia is spending a staggering amount of money. Russia has floating nuclear power plants in the Arctic, in the Arctic waters. Anybody here ready to propose that for northern Canada? I mean, it's not going to happen. Authoritarian states can get away with all sorts of things. The democratic nations don't have to processes we don't have to go through. Northern Norway, Finland, and Scandinavia have a simple commitment that regardless of where you are in the country, you'll have the comparable level of services. So paved roads to all the communities, good internet coverage, good electrical coverage, good health care. But basically, regardless of where you are in any of those countries. Greenland, remarkable transitions over the last 20 years based on the revival of the Greenlandic people, the Inuit cousins of the folks from Nunavut. And they are doing a remarkable job at sort of reestablishing control of their own jurisdiction and moving towards sort of likely sort of full autonomy in time. Alaska, the minister talked about this. The numbers I saw was the Department of National Defense industries in the United States spend more money in Alaska than the entire Canadian defense industry. It is massively militarized. And so when Alaska says, oh, we've got great infrastructure and great roads and great internet and all that kind of stuff, it's because they have a massive military presence that goes back to the Cold War, right? And so they have a foundation that makes prosperity relatively easy to achieve because you have the underpinnings of that remarkable military spending. So how do we stand up in the Canadian North? Not very well. Quite to be honest, I don't mean that to be cynical. I mean, I look at my colleagues, the vice chief and Marcia, and look at the work that they do. The effort they put in is absolutely staggering. It is difficult to sort of feel comfortable with how we're doing in the Canadian North, to be honest.
Thank you. We'll now go to Ms. Sidlaut. Ms. Sidlaut.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. First, I wish to thank all of you who came here to give a presentation, a very interesting presentation, and very important what you do. Also, I want to recognize today in Canada that it's Indigenous Day. I want to thank the interpreters and the staff here. I think it's a holiday for most. So we need to acknowledge Indigenous Day. I'm Dr. Ken Coates. I have a few questions for you. We Inuit in the Arctic, we raise those issues. Not enough resources. We don't get enough resources. We don't get enough support. And we are not participants to defending our country and the security. We are not resourced properly to move ahead, and we are not heard. We are not important. When you recommended more resources for the North, I want to ask you, would you agree that these investments need to be in the areas of increasing housing in Nunavut and in the First Nations communities?
Hearing the question being asked in your language. That means an awful lot to me to hear you say that. So thank you for bringing that to the parliamentary process. If we look at the housing situation across Canada in the Canadian North, we should be collectively appalled. And just to connect it up with something that Marcia was talking about the challenges with COVID in northern Saskatchewan, we have a generation of young people for the last 2 years who are probably going to fall 2 or 3 or 4 years behind their age cohort in terms of learning, largely because they were in overcrowded homes. If you're in lockdown, and you've got 12 people living in a house designed for 4 or 5 people, and you maybe only have one computer, but actually you have 9 kids in there, and all the noise and all the confusion that goes on, the learning that took place is well below any standard, well below any standard. So you look at this, you say, where do you start? My own preference probably, if I had a whole bunch of money to spend, would be on early childhood development, which is children from the ages of 0 to 5. That is a really important area to put a lot of resources in, but that also means they have to have safe and clean houses. They have to have secure houses. There are communities across Canada's north where you see, mold 3 feet up on the side of the home, where you see way too many people. The houses aren't designed for 12 people if they're actually built for 4 or 5, and they don't breathe properly. And as a consequence, disease spreads and challenges emerge in a major way. But I would also say this, that we should be not just rushing to build Southern-style homes in Nunavut, we should be rushing to develop Nunavut-style homes for the Canadian North. And what does that mean? Why aren't we a world leader in 3D printed homes? Why aren't we a world leader in Arctic architecture? And redesigning buildings with Inuit people, designed to the housing needs that they want, and even laying out the communities the way they want. We've got some really good examples across the North of communities that were sort of the structure of the community was imposed. You ended up, they were not put the way that First Nations people or Inuit people wanted them. The government just put them in rows like they would have in Southern Canada. So housing is an absolutely critical issue. The government tries every year. We put more money in place. The logistics are incredibly difficult, but we have to make it into a national priority. And again, I would also say, going back to the strategic question, this is also tied to clean water. It's also tied to food security. It's also tied to education and health. These things have to be seen in an integrated way. But if people are not well housed, they're never going to be well. It's as simple as that.
Thank you for your response. I had other questions, but you replied to most. I will ask you again. Suppose, for instance, Marcia said mental wellness, supporting Indigenous peoples to heal each other in the area of mental illness or mental wellness. How can we support Indigenous peoples and communities in the area of mental wellness? We need mental health resources. Mental wellness has to be addressed. We want to help ourselves in our own communities, in our own language, without mental health workers and psychologists, and not be dependent on outside expertise, but to be dependent on the community who will be capable to take care of mental illness and wellness.
If that question was directed at me, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I'll answer quickly. Boy, have you ever touched on something really important? We have some creative solutions. Yukon University is doing some really excellent community-based training and preparation. The minister can probably tell us way more about that than I know. My university, University of Saskatchewan, has nursing programs that are actually based in the community, where community members get their whole nursing degree while they're in that town. And they stay home, and then they stay there to work afterwards, and the retention rate is much, much higher. But the other part that's really interesting, we haven't really, the Vice Chief mentioned this, in his comments. There is a healing and redemptive power in connecting with the land. And we haven't, when we go through the whole impact of colonization and the impact of school systems and everything else, one of the things that's happened is that many young people, and young Indigenous people, even in the North, are not well connected to the land. They just don't have enough time to get out there. And we need to reinvent education, for letting Indigenous people reinvent education for their own purposes. And on the mental health side, there's two things I would add. One of them is, the elders are perhaps the most potent medicine that the communities have available to them, if you can use them constructively and collaboratively. But boy, are we ever discovering some interesting things to do with new technologies. Some of the better suicide prevention strategies in North America actually use cell phones. Which is kind of disconcerting at one level. I'm not a fan of social media, but they're using cell phones to stay in touch with people, where they actually monitor young people's activities and can actually notice the signs of depression and the signs of suicidal thoughts by what sites they're visiting and things they're saying to each other and their friends. And you can actually do great preventative health. And I think, the Vice Chief might want to speak to this, but I think, there is a sadness among young people in the North. It is the absence of clear job paths and career opportunities. The good news is that young Indigenous women are doing really quite well and better all the time. Young Indigenous men are doing less well all the time. And we, you mentioned the Vice Chief did, he made a comment almost in passing, the high suicide rates. Every one of those is a community tragedy of the highest proportions. You all know that. And so how do we stop that? How do we sort of get that on a positive track and give young people the hope and sense of optimism that they deserve? All Canadians deserve that. Indigenous people in the North deserve it as much as anybody else.
Thank you. We're now going to go to a second round, and I have to admit I've been a bit loose on the timing here. Everybody's gone way over time. I'm going to be a little bit tougher this time, so I'm telling both the committee members and the witnesses, don't take it personally when I cut you off. Mr. Zimmer, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to be at INAN again, and happy National Indigenous Peoples Day to everybody out there. I'll get right into it. So, Mr. Coates, I can completely relate to what you've been talking about, and other experts on the Arctic, Hubert and Wallace, really appreciate you guys digging into this. I was in Inuvik last week at our most active NORAD location in the Arctic and was alarmed by what I saw. There has been many concerns regarding our Canadian sovereignty and security from our territorial premiers, provincial premiers, and heard the same firsthand from many of our Northern Indigenous residents. And to quote from an article, SAS Today in April, it says, Premier Sandy Silver, the chair of the Northern Premiers, called an impromptu meeting of those leaders. Following that, Silver, the Northwest Territories Premier Carolyn Cochrane, and Nunavut Premier PJ Giacok wrote a joint letter to BC Premier John Horgan and other premiers requesting space on the agenda on the Council of Federation summer meeting. And this is all about Arctic sovereignty and security. The quote from Premier Silver, "It's time that Canada does the same. Russian actions are threatening global security and the international rules-based order." I'll continue. Instead of strengthening sovereignty and security in our Arctic, I saw this government putting up a for sale sign on a crucial NORAD facility known as the Green Hangar in Inuvik and getting rid of other essential equipment. For decades, the International Logistical Support Hangar has been the only facility above the Arctic Circle able to house Canada's refueling tankers that support our CF-18s. This critical NORAD facility was said to be no longer necessary by this government. In 2021, the hangar is now up for sale, and other countries, namely China, are showing interest. Without this hangar, the refueling tankers are being pushed outside and now take 3 or more hours to prep in winter conditions. Any quick response is now virtually impossible in the Arctic. Mr. Coates, are you aware of this vulnerability, and what should be done about it?
Well, I would say that I did know this was actually happening. I think the government has just announced what they call a modernization of NATO, which I hope will involve addressing some of those kinds of issues. But we lag so far behind other nations, and I think it's interesting comparing two places. One is northern Norway, where they live with the threat of Russia very, very close at hand. And the other one is northern Australia, where the dangers of China and Russia are very far away. In both those areas, they have long-standing military presence in the region. They're prepared for uncertainty. Now we face uncertainty. Are we prepared? No, we're not. Can we do better? Way, way better. Why do we? But ask yourself the question, not you personally, sir, but why do Canadians not care so little? Why do these questions? These questions have been coming up since the 1950s. So why do we care so little? Whitehorse used to have a very substantial military presence, and it's gone.
And Mr. Coates, and I've seen the same. I've seen posts that I've done on social media that get a lot of attention, and Arctic sovereignty and security, frankly, are in the lower end of responses. And I agree with you. We need to elevate the issue. But in speaking about the grandiose announcement of almost $5 billion for NORAD and part of our Arctic sovereignty and security, Nanisivik, I can just bring that up. That's a project that's been long promised but not delivered. This government's been in power for 6 years, still unrealized. An article from CTV, military hopeful, new Arctic port will open in 22, but significant uncertainty remains. The Canadian military says there are no guarantees that its long-delayed Arctic naval station will finally be open next year, prompting defense critics to call the ongoing construction delays confounding and dangerous. Mr. Coates, again, back to you. A lot of promises can be made. They've been made in the past by this government. Another $4 billion, $5 billion in 20 more years. But again, outcomes. Promises versus outcomes. Maybe just comment on that. What needs to be realized, or what needs to be done to see these promises made into outcomes?
Short thing is you need Canadians to really care about this. What happens is Canada gets interested in the North when somebody threatens it, whether it's the Russians, whether it's the Americans, when somebody sort of raises their head, whether it's the Polar Sea or the Manhattan voyages from the 70s and 80s. Then we get all agitated. We say we're going to do something, and then we don't. And we lose interest and we lose focus. When I say that, partly, of course, it's the governments who are not following up, but it's also the Canadian public. And one of the realities is the Canadians are a southern-focused nation living mostly close to the Canada-U.S. border. Not very many people live as far north as our colleagues here from Saskatchewan do, and the minister from the Yukon.
Thank you, Mr. Coates. Thank you, Mr. Coates. We'll go to Mr. Pawlowski.
Now, in this study, we're looking at Arctic sovereignty, but also Indigenous security and emergency preparedness. And I wanted to ask a couple people about the issue of jurisdiction and how much that is or isn't a problem. I'm a member of Parliament for Thunder Bay Rainy River, which is Northern Ontario. Certainly, Northern Ontario includes a lot of Indigenous communities which have constant problems with flooding and fires. And in looking at this in my own riding and who has responsibility, who has jurisdiction, I always find this a little bit confusing. So I wanted to ask Mr. Tisani in northern Saskatchewan, who has jurisdiction? Now, you did talk about Saskatchewan emergency management. It sounded like they were the ones in charge. They're working with Indigenous communities. But does Indigenous Services have a role in that, or do they reimburse Saskatchewan emergency management, or how does that work? And is there a problem with jurisdictions? And is there more of a problem with Indigenous communities with figuring out who has responsibility than with non-Indigenous communities?
I think we've done work with emergency services, And certainly our First Nations, our local leadership has that jurisdiction. At the end of the day, if the chief or the community decides they need to evacuate, it's the chief that makes the call. So we've been working, I think it's building relationships. The very important thing is about building relationship and walking side by side with decision makers, people that are sitting around the table, is to work together, is to find that common understanding and to be able to build those partnerships. That's why I say we have that partnership with Red Cross. We have that partnership and agreements with the police and the province. We work together as best we can. Certainly there's differences, but at the end of the day, it's the safety of our communities. But it's offloaded to the province, and the province provide that services to our First Nations, but we have those agreements. We respond to any emergency services. We want to have that control, and where our people, if they have to get evacuated, it's our First Nations that, along with our organization, with the Prince Albert Grand Council, First Nations Emergency Management Services that we provide for our community. So it's a partnership, and that understanding the willingness to work together. It works best that way.
So I take it then you work with the province, and the province provides the resources, but they ultimately recover those resources from Indigenous services?
Yeah, the province, if they provide that service to our First Nations, they recover through the feds. And if we have to respond along with our First Nations, it's through the feds that we recover some of those expenses through the tribal council, with the tribal council support. So.
Maybe I can ask the same question to Mr. Mostyn. Who has jurisdiction? Who pays at the end of the day?
It's a very good question. We provide, as a territorial government, provide support to our First Nation communities and our municipalities. Within municipal boundaries, it's a lot clearer these days. They're responsible for emergency response within their municipal boundaries, and the same holds true for our First Nation, self-governing First Nations. The problem is we're talking very, very small communities of 200 people. And, some of them are really capable of providing that support. Where they're not, the Yukon government takes a much more active role. Now, we have actually enlisted the aid of First Nation wildfire participants across the territory. All First Nations are contributing resources to that initiative now. So we've got, we're working very closely together, I guess is the way, with our municipalities and our First Nation governments, and to support them, because the numbers are so very small that we really do. And then we recover the money from Ottawa at the end.
Quickly, and there will probably be no easy answer to this, but Mr. Coates, several times during your testimony, you suggested that the plight of the northern parts of provinces, northern Manitoba, northern Ontario, Saskatchewan, was in some ways worse than the places in the far north, north of 60. Do you want to just elaborate on that, or do I get you wrong? And I know we have several representatives from north of 60 here, so you may want to remember that when you're applying.
And you have about 25 seconds.
I mean, no ill will to the territorial north whatsoever. The amount of money that goes into the northern provinces is much, much smaller than available in the Yukon Northwest Territories, and but by a very dramatic scale. The northern territories have treaties, modern agreements, comprehensive arrangements, huge transfers of hundreds of millions of dollars into the region. Hasn't happened in the provincial north at all. So there's a vast difference in authority and in resources and in opportunity.
Thank you very much. Madame Gill, vous avez 2 minutes et demie.
Merci. Thank you, Chair. I do have a question. I'll be the devil's advocate. Last week, we had a witness, Mr. Thompson, from the Northwest Territories. And when commenting on the resurgence of certain crises, and this in regard to climate change, he said that we should perhaps think of relocating certain Indigenous communities. And I would like to hear from our witnesses, especially Ms. Mirazzi and also our Vice Chief Tsitsani. Comment on this.
Start, Ms. Mirazzi.
Well, thank you for that question. I think if First Nation leadership was given the choice to move, they would, if the federal government was to provide the infrastructure supports, that they would move to their traditional lands. The community that comes to mind right off the bat is our English River First Nation, and actually they were moved from Dipper Lake and Clear Lake into the area of English River, more for government ease of building houses and road construction. So I think our people have a strong connection to the land. They go back to their traditional territories where they come from. They feel connected, and if it was an option, provided the infrastructures were in place and supported, definitely there is a families that would like to return to their homelands. Thank you for that question.
Vice Chief, you could you've got about 30 seconds.
Well, we've seen what happened in northern Manitoba with the Dooley Lake and how they were relocated into Churchill and how devastating that was. We don't want to learn from the past mistakes that has done to our people. Our people, where they live, that's their home. And there's people that live in swamping areas, lots of high water levels. That's their home. That's the Swampy Creek. The Dene people live off the land. It's not just one area, it's the whole region. Our land base is within 100 kilometers of Baker Lake. Northwest Territories, that's where our people are buried. That's our home. So provide that support in terms of housing and the need. Climate change is going to happen. So I can't see of any of our communities, not once they mentioned that they need to be relocated. They're happy where they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Edelhout, you have 2.5 minutes.
Thank you. I will ask Marcia first, and then I will ask Vice Chief Joseph Sani. Do you agree that as a part of all emergency preparedness planning, that a portion of that needs to include help for Indigenous peoples to help each other, rather than that status quo of relying mainly on academically graduated mental health professionals? Marcia, and then Vice Chief.
I do agree with you. I do believe that community-based resources are the most effective because they know their people and they know the culture, the traditions, the language. They're connected. The issue that is highlighted at times is confidentiality and trust within our own people because of past grievances, and so it's about the training programs and that can be provided to our people, and assurances that mental health and emergency services will be provided in a professional manner, in a confidential manner. You know, if there's confidentiality need, that our people are the best to do it in the communities with their culture, with their language, with their traditions. So thank you for that.
Vice Chief?
Just quickly, sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'll say it in English just for time's sake. Do you agree that as a part of all emergency preparedness planning, that a portion of that needs to include help for Indigenous peoples to help each other, rather than the status quo of relying mainly on academically graduated mental health professionals?
Again, I think it's coming together, making those decisions together. It doesn't matter where you come from or which background, it's coming together in that willingness. That's what reconciliation for me is about. is to be able to work together collectively. It's not just First Nations problem. It's not just the federal government. It's together. This is our country. We have to come together and make a collective decision together for the best of everybody. Then we can all be accountable. And certainly our neighbors down south, if we can work together in terms of finding the solution for our communities, because we're all interrelated, gang activity, drugs activity in our communities, we all share that same issue. But if we can come together and come up with solutions, we do that to a certain point. But I think collectively, this is not just a one nation problem. Collectively, as a Canadian, we all have to be accountable. We all have to be willing partners, same as being married to your spouse. So I think we have to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chief. Mr. Vidal, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Morasti, I'm going to ask you to make a clear statement on this because I just limited time. So I'm going to try to get you to do this in a couple of minutes or less. When you were talking about your SWOT analysis, one of the weaknesses you talked about lockdowns, and under the threat you talked about working from home. I just want you to make a statement so we get it on the record so that we know in the future, if we were ever to face something similar to what we did with the COVID-19 pandemic, what would be your recommendation for the communities that you serve to respond to things like lockdowns and working from home?
Well, number one, we need to have the infrastructure in place. We need to have cell towers and connectivity so that we can stay connected to our contacts in the communities and provide, the opportunity for homeschooling, educational opportunities, and mental health supports. And we also need to pivot and be flexible and find ways to meet the mandates of our programs and services in a unique setting where it is highly reliant on virtual technologies and basically serving our people, meeting their needs when there's vast distances. In the Meadow Lake Tribal Council, our furthest First Nation is 3.5 hours away. And if there's lockdowns and we're not able to travel, we have to be able to guide and direct our First Nations and work with them, get their advice and their direction virtually. And so I would say that the connectivity, the high-speed internet, the cell towers are key in working from home and meeting needs of our community members. Thank you for that question.
And thank you for that answer. I was actually going to ask Vice Chief Tassani this question, but I think, Vice Chief, you've done a great job of advocating for the Canadian Rangers in northern Saskatchewan. So I'm going to change this up a little bit, and I want to ask Mr. Coates, obviously a very knowledgeable gentleman. Would you speak to the suggestion that Vice Chief Tassani has made about a Canadian Rangers base in northern Saskatchewan? And do you believe that would be beneficial for many of the reasons that the Vice Chief has so admirably advocated for already in his presentation today?
The Vice Chief has spoken about two things. He has spoken about the Rangers and the role that they could play in the defense of the North and the sort of first alerts. He's also talked about search and rescue capabilities based in northern Saskatchewan with the ability to reach way up into the Arctic. I concur with both of those things. And this is a classic example of sort of where we look at the long-term and multiple effects of something. Taking on something like that could actually be enriching for the communities, bring spirit and pride and enthusiasm to the young people. I've been with the folks in La Ronge and watched what the young people do there. They are so excited about the activities. They have a similar arrangement in the Yukon where there are ranger groups up there. I'm sure the ministers worked with them. The passion and energy, this actually brings life to those young people. So don't just do it because of search and rescue or because of military preparedness. Do it because of all the other things that come along with a comprehensive approach.
Thank you for that. And I do have a little bit of time left. So Vice Chief, you are going to get the last word on this. So Vice Chief, get on the record again, your advocacy for a Canadian Rangers base in northern Saskatchewan, and talk until the chair cuts you off, please.
We have those capabilities already. We're doing some of the work already in terms of search and rescue. We find the people that can't be found. And those capabilities, I've been into Ottawa with the military and checked out this high definition camera that can see 40 kilometers away, infrared through smoke. We want those capabilities. It takes 2 weeks to train a student to operate that camera. And we have the biggest resources, our young people. And who best can survive in the northern regions than our people? We can provide that service. And like you said, it's not where I'm not looking for combat people. I'm looking for that support. We can deliver fuel into the Arctic. We can provide ground support. We can provide the food if needed into certain situations. We have those people. We have those capabilities, and we can provide that support that is going to be needed in case of emergency services. So we're a willing partner. We have the airlines, we have the young people, we have the technology, we have the companies to build our capacities. We need the support, and we need to strategize, like we talked about, strategize and to come together. I think at the end of the day, the feds, the provincial and the First Nations, and come together in the Arctic and to put those strategies, to come together in strategy, and to come up with the best solution for our northern communities. And I want to go to the Arctic. I love the North so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chief. We're going to conclude with 5 minutes from Mr. Fisher.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and what a fascinating committee to be subbed in on today. I want to thank all of our witnesses for their expert testimony and all of their comments and their absolute love of the North. It's very evident when we hear you all speak. I have a question for Minister Mostyn. I think we can all, well, most of us can agree that climate change impacts every single one of us. But the North is disproportionately impacted. You know, you see the fires, you see the floods. And I recognize that all orders of government, and Minister, you spoke about the partnerships, municipal, provincial, and First Nations and the federal government, and I salute you for those partnerships. But I recognize that all orders of government have had to step up to the plate to invest in climate mitigation and invest in better infrastructure. So, Minister, what action is your government taking, the provincial government, and what investments are you making in order to mitigate the impacts of climate change? I'm just curious if there's anything there that you want to elaborate on, and as Mr. Vidal said, get on the record.
Thank you very much for the question. It is an important one. We are spending an enormous amount of money, hundreds of millions of dollars over the next 10 years on climate change. We've got a plan, Our Clean Future. I believe it's certainly a nation-leading plan. I know there are probably others out there, but I'm really proud of what we've done here in the territory with such small resources, and it is measurable, and it is we report every year on what we're doing, and it's got hundreds of recommendations and timelines for implementation. We've declared a climate emergency up here, and when you do that, you're actually declaring that all other things in the face of this emergency that we're facing are secondary. We have to look through that lens to make sure that we're dealing with the emergency we've got. So we are looking at putting in a program that will help Yukoners cut their heating bills, because heating provides an awful lot of greenhouse gases to the territory. It produces a lot of greenhouse gases in the territory. So we're looking at ways to have residents make their homes more energy efficient, cutting the costs of heating in these days of skyrocketing diesel and gas prices. We are looking at expanding our power grid, putting in green energy. We've got, I mentioned Old Crow. We're also putting in battery storage in Whitehorse with the help of the federal government again. We've got, we're putting in, we've got First Nations across the territory putting in solar and wind power stations. We are working very closely with our First Nations to have increase their local emergency management capability and climate resiliency, and to support them in developing robust emergency plans. And it's been inspiring to see the resilience and leadership shown by Yukon First Nations and local governments throughout the territory through the unprecedented number of emergencies we've had in the last several years. So it's going, as I said, every dollar we spent in preventing and building better infrastructure, more efficient homes, more efficient recreation facilities, more efficient roads. Every dollar we spent there is going to pay huge dividends on the back end because it's enormously expensive to replace the roads that are getting washed out, to replace the schools in a community of 250 people. Building a school in that community is going to be in excess of $40 million. And how do you do that? We have to make sure we're building these facilities in ways that survive the climate crisis we're in. And I'll just leave it there. I mean, there's so much to do.
Thank you, Minister. Do you generally feel that you're well supported by the federal government as one of your key partners?
Oh, it's the support the territorial government has got from our federal partners has been absolutely extraordinary. I mean, the infrastructure programs that the federal government has implemented in the North, these nation-building infrastructure programs, have been absolutely essential to the territory. I will say that we pulled on them. We spent every cent that the federal government has sent our way, and I'm telling you, there's $1 billion in other programs that haven't been funded yet. So the need is great, but the need is absolutely great. But the federal government has been extraordinary in building our roads and bridges and preparing us for the changing climate that we've got going. But so much more is needed, unfortunately.
Mr. Chair, I see I have 19 seconds left. I think I'll cede that time. It's hard to get a question and an answer, but Minister Mostyn, thank you so very much for all the work you do. And again, my hats off to all of the witnesses today for your expert testimony. I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and let me echo that as well. This is our last meeting before we break until the fall and continue with this study, which is by no means complete, but it has been a real pleasure to have 4 really great witnesses today with each your own area of expertise and experience on this National Indigenous Peoples Day. So it couldn't be a better way for us to finish off our work until we meet again in the fall. So thank you very much for your patience in waiting for us and for your testimony, your opening remarks, and your very candid answers to all of our questions. Thank you very much. And with that, dear colleagues, we are adjourned for the summer.